Hi, I'm Brin. I'm the owner and administrator of bigenderdragon. So, just want to catch up a little bit. I did start my new job. I think I mentioned that in the last video, but it's pretty okay. And I was right, the money doesn't suck. But it's not quite as, stuck up and conservative and stodgy as I was afraid of. But, I still don't think I'm going to be coming out at work. At least not in the short term. But that kind of ties in. Oh, so then I had this business trip last week. And something happened there that I wanted to talk about a little bit. Ties in with something that just happened this past weekend over 4th of July, and with videos that Sydney Tinker and bigenderdragon did about gender dysphoria. And bigenderdragon had a video basically asking about it, about gender dysphoria, so this is kind of a response to him. So, in the course of my business trip, I and my coworker and my recruiter and her boss all went out to dinner. And it was just sort of a, meet your recruiter, because they're out in Columbus, Ohio, I'm in Chicago. So, this was really the first chance I had to meet them, even though I had talked to my recruiter and not her boss. But, so we all went out, and it was, basically it was 3 women and a guy, because it was me after work. So I was dressed very guy-like, right? In the course of the conversation, they were talking about having, so the first thing that happened is the waitress comes up and says, "Hey, ladies, can I get you something to drink?" Now, I took note of it, but nobody else seemed to have caught it, and I thought maybe she was talking to the other two, because it was me and my coworker on one side, and it was my recruiter and her boss on the other. And they're, they're young. My recruiter was like in her mid-20s, and her boss is only like 2 years older than me or something like that. So, fairly young-looking girls. And so, the waitress said, "Hey, ladies," and was talking to them, I thought. So then she left, got drinks, came back, and then said, "Okay, ladies, what would you like for dinner?" And my recruiter and her boss were discussing, and so she turned to my coworker and she goes, "Can I get you ladies something to eat? What would you ladies like to eat?" or something like that. So it was like the 3rd time she had done it, and it became noticed, Now, I had done this had gone on without me correcting the waitress once. And I think they had probably noted that as well. But in the course of it, I had mentioned that I'm not the guyest guy who ever guyed. And they said that's fine. They don't like the guyest guys anyway, because they're the ones that, have their pot bellies and their shirts too tight and scratch their bellies and, make crude noises and things. And so, they don't really like the guyest guys anyway. It's like, that's fine. But as the night went on and we were drinking and talking and eating and enjoying ourselves, very much I felt one of the girls. And it was really kind of odd. Like, it was cool. I dug it. I mean, I really enjoy going out with women as a woman. I love being part of a group of women because there's just such a dynamic there that is entirely different when there's a guy present, or when there's a guy's presence, and I really dig that. But I was not presenting as a girl. I did eventually take my hair down, I think, just because it made me feel a little better, because I was starting to really feel a bit dysphoric. I was feeling a bit out of place. I almost came out a couple of times. I almost just was right out with it, and I don't know their beliefs or policies or how they feel about it, and I didn't want to make the whole dinner awkward, So, that was an odd experience. It was fun. I had a really great time, and they were just a blast to hang out with, all of them. But I really felt sort of, it was like an out of body experience. I was very much me, Brin. But I was kind of in Paul's body. So I tried to just sort of ignore it and go with it and not make things too awkward. So that happened. Then the next night I got to go hang out, or 2 nights later or whatever, I got to go hang out with a really dear friend of mine who has absolutely been lovely with me and was one of the first people I'd come out to that was not in my family and wasn't part of my big coming out in 2001. So I'd been out to her for a number of years, since 2005, I think. But she'd never been out with me as Brin. So she was in one part of Ohio, I was in another. We sort of met in the middle and had this really great dinner at this really weird, out-of-the-way place, and had a really good time. So that was fun. That was just sort of a nice, add-on. And when I was in the hotel, my chair lock just let go. When I was in the hotel, I was very sort of girled up the whole time, just because, right there. It's not easy to hide unless I'm really making an effort to, and I really wanted to use the workout room and the swimming pool, and I wanted to use the jacuzzi, but it was broken the whole time, of course, until the day I left. So I had brought, a bikini and girl workout clothes and, girl going out clothes to go visit my friend. So I really was sort of double lifing it, sort of James Bond thing the whole night, or the whole week. But then something else happened this last weekend. I went with my girlfriend to visit her family for the 4th of July. They were having this, big sort of mini family reunion out at their lake house a couple hours away. Now, I'm not out to her family, and I've always told her that when it comes to her career, her company, and her family, she sets the pace, and she makes the decisions about whether or not to come out. I don't even I'm not out at my own job. I'm not going to expect her to be out at hers, because part of me being trans is putting her in the closet, or it's queering to her. It's queering of her, It puts her into a queer relationship, and, the industry she's in is really very conservative as well. So, we're talking about moving in together, and that's sort of controversial, And so if they knew she was a part-time lesbian, it might cause problems to her career. So I've always said, that it's her decision, set it at her pace. Her family, her relationship with her family is different from my relationship with mine, and she doesn't see them as often. And, there's just a different level of disclosure in what she's comfortable with hers and what I'm with mine. And it took me a long time to get to where I am, too, so there's no failing there. And I hope that she forgives me for discussing this, but it's in service of talking about dysphoria. So, I'm not out to her family, and they don't know anything about me. So I had to be a boy the whole time. And that's fine. At least I had told her that was fine. So I took off my nail polish, I took off my eyeliner, I even took off my toenail polish, and packed boy clothes and, boy deodorant, and, all this stuff that I had not used in quite a long time. Or this whole set of presentation, of pure male presentation, that I've not used, really, for a long, long time, outside of work. I've gotten very spoiled at being able to blur the line where I want to blur the line, present nearly how I want to present everywhere but work. And, you know, when I'm at home and relaxing, I don't really make a differentiation between Brin and Paul, and, you know, I'm just sort of me. And, you know, there's some Femme aspects to me. I think even in male mode, I have a lot of Femme attributes, you know, and things that I do to just sort of queer it up. Eyeliner for one. As I told my girlfriend, they can have my eyeliner when they take it from my cold dead hands. But I actually was upset that I had to do that, and it wasn't her fault. And it's not like I had any right to be mad, or, and I didn't even want her to come out or talk about me, you know, talk about me being trans to her family. That wasn't even it. It was just, I'd gotten used to it and spoiled, and I was suddenly feeling very dysphoric. And you know what? I was bitchy, and I was mad, and I was just not the nicest person. And, I took it out on her a little bit. It's really not fair. But I was hurt. And, you know, I recognize conceptually that it's not okay for me to have been hurt. It's not okay for me to be mad at, you know, what she does and doesn't disclose to her family. But it bothered me nonetheless, because all of a sudden I felt like I was trapped in this skin that I didn't want to be wearing. And, you know, I was suddenly back in the closet, and I've not been in the closet for a while. Not truly, anyway, you know. And so, I just brought all of that dysphoria and fear and thankfully not the shame this time, but, you know, just that fear of being caught and you know, hyper-realization that I'm not like everybody else. Just brought all that rushing back into the fore, and it was hard. It was really hard to deal with, and, you know, she bore with me until I got my feet back under me a little, but, you know, it's taken me almost this whole week just to get my bearings back. I only just put my nail polish back on today. This is the first eyeliner I've had on since I took it off last weekend. And so, you know, dysphoria is not always easy to describe to somebody who's cis. Anybody who's trans probably knows, you know, quite well what it is. But it's this feeling of being trapped, and I've heard some good analogies about it, but, like, you're being trapped in a perception. So it's not just that you're forced to present in a way that is counter to how you feel inside. It's that everybody is treating you like the presentation, like the false presentation, and you become hidden, and you can't, and nobody sees you, you know? So it, you know, when it comes to body stuff, you know, your body doesn't match what your head says it's supposed to look like, and but for me, the dysphoria has always been social. So if I'm out and about, everybody's treating me like a guy, or like, you know, like a dude, you know. That's not me. And it's certainly not Brin me, you know. I'm very much a girl. But even, you know, Paul me is not so butch all the time. But, you know, I have to meet that expectation of fitting in with the guys, you know. This one's going to go a little bit long. Sorry, guys. And I have not, for a while, felt that kind of dysphoria. And it was weird to have it all rushing back in. And I forgot how painful it was. See, I've been on hormones now for 18 months, and I really just haven't been specific about it in the past, but There's 5 weeks there around my surgery where I couldn't take my hormones, and so I started, coming back with boy sets of hormones, and it was a really different experience. And maybe that's something I'll talk about in another video, but, I have been on hormones in order to get the body that I want, I'm very happy with the shape that my body is, which is sort of girl on top, boy on the bottom, to avoid any further specifics. That matches what's in my head. I can be very girl presenty. I can be very guy presenty if I need to, and girl presenty if I need to, guy presenty if I need to, or if I want to in either case. And sometimes I do, but to have that removed from me, that sort of visibility of who I am taken away, or, more to the point, giving up that visibility, setting it aside myself, and creating something that is a false image in a social situation outside of work was painful. And I think I'm kind of rambling and repeating. So with the dinner conversation last week, where I was completely out of place, sort of fitting in like a girl and doing all the girl presentation except for any of the physical presentation, and then having to go through that little bit where I had to come to grips with sort of going back in the closet. It really sort of brought dysphoria back to the front, and it's this big mismatch between how you're being treated and how you're presenting, or how you're being treated and how you feel. So it was a weird, the dinner was, I was being treated like I felt, but not how I looked. So it really played with my head a lot. And then this weekend, I was being treated very much as a person that I'm not. Which is a sort of, typical middle-class white male. Which, to an extent I am, but it's not all that I am. I'm not cis and I'm not het. So, for those assumptions to be put on me and for that to be how I'm treated was a big shift in how I've gotten spoiled and used to being treated by other people. So, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like everyone's treating you like you're wearing a clown nose. And so, they're laughing and chuckling and they're not taking things seriously when, you don't feel like you're wearing a clown nose at all, but nobody can understand that, nobody sees that, and nobody can hear that. So, you're just sort of beating against this glass wall, or one-way mirror, I guess, where you can see out into the world and they can't see you. And it's really sort of being trapped in your own body in a way that is not very comfortable. So yeah, that's dysphoria. That's how I experience it. That's recent, bouts that I've had with it. I don't really have a lot of good ways of dealing with it except to just sort of try to recognize when it's happening, take some deep breaths, and realize that I'm not in whatever situation I'm in at the moment is not the situation I'm going to be in forever. So, like with my girlfriend's family, I was there for an evening, a night, and a morning, and I knew I was going to be home that night. And so if I wanted to, put on a tutu and twirl in the living room, I don't do that. I could do that when I got home. I just had to stick it out till then. So I can do things that are unpleasant for a while, knowing that I'll be able to do things that are pleasant later, like tutus. No, not tutus. Anyway, yeah, so that's my topic today. It's dysphoria, and how I interact with it, and that's about the only way that I have to deal with it if I can't get out of a situation, it's just sort of stick it out, you know. Pull up the big girl britches and stay to the end until you can get to where you need to be. Yeah, so actually, check out bigenderdragon's channel. He is a new vlogger, and he's posting a lot. I think he's got half of my number, like, you know, he's posted half the number of videos that I have, and he's been doing this for, I think, 2.5 weeks. So it's pretty impressive. Also check out Sydney Tinker. She's amazing. And wow, is she prolific. Oh my god, I wish I could post as often as she does, but you all would be sick of me because I don't post short videos. As you can see, I am no longer in the big blue comfy chair because my laptop is dead. It is no more. It is no longer with us. So I'm having to make alternate accommodations. And this is me in front of my PC. So this is my windows behind me. There's my, you know, Mr. Potato Head collection up there and bookshelves, etc. I'm not positive on how I like this angle yet, but it's really hard to figure out how to do it otherwise. What else? Oh, check out Trans Labyrinth. I know what her next topic is going to be, and it's such a good one. I kind of hate her for having that one, and I'm not stealing it because I'm very nice. And oh god, bigender.net just started a channel. It's with a couple of us from the forums who also have YouTube presences, but it's for more bigendery type general topics. But it's bigender.net, all spelled out, you know, D-O-T-N-E-T, here on YouTube, and I'll put a link in the show notes. But yeah, right now we're just posting intro videos, and we'll start, I don't know if it's going to be like a regular weekly collab channel, or if it's just going to be sort of whenever things come in there, but add it to your subscriptions list, and check it out, and you'll get a whole bunch of us all at once. So that's all I have tonight, because it's 22 minutes. Good night.